Yo, what's going on, my buddies? TotalJophes coming at you with my review for Final Fantasy 15. Okay, so, clearly since I'm doing this review, I've managed to finish Final Fantasy 15, which was by no means an easy feat. But, I've gotta say, I've played literally every single main title Final Fantasy game, also a bunch of prequels and sequels and crap, but you know, not counting those. But out of all of the main title Final Fantasy games, I can honestly say, Final Fantasy 6 is the only Final Fantasy I still love more than 15. Like, that's how good this game is, at least in my opinion. Like, I know a lot of other people are on the fence about this game, much more so than me, but I personally really freaking love it. And, I mean, I guess you'll see that with this review. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. For those of you who don't know how my game reviews go, I take 3 categories, story, graphics, and gameplay, give them each a score out of 10, and then add them all together at the end for a final score out of 30 for the overall review of the game. So, let's get right in it. So first up, we've got the story. Now, with most Final Fantasy games, story is kind of, you know, the point of the game. It's the strong point. It's a JRPG. Their emphasis is usually on story and, you know, depth of characters and whatnot. And as far as things go, I've got to say, this game, I really do like the story a lot. My only beef with it is the story doesn't start getting, like, really in-depth until about, like, halfway through the game. But, all the same, I am just grading it off the story altogether. And I'll try not to spoil too much, but there will be some spoilers, so fair warning. Now, getting right into this, the story, as most of you probably already know by now, is that Noctis' kingdom, Lucis, they get their crystal stolen along with the Ring of the Lucii by the Empire of Niflheim. And Noctis, you know, his main point of the journey is to take down the Empire, take back the crystal and the ring, and take back his kingdom. But that very much changes later in the game. The Empire isn't shit by the end of the game. Oh, man. Okay, now here's where the spoilers are going to start coming in. The main villain of this game, Ardyn Izunia, is probably one of the greatest parts about this game. I fucking love him so much. Like, that's one of the things that I wanted really bad for this game. If you've seen my video of the top things that I want to see in Final Fantasy 15, you'll know that one of those things was a great main villain, and Ardyn is a great main villain. I mean, oh my god. Okay, here's an example. This...
Wait. Oh, what the fuck? Dude! Those are fucking bodies! Those are fucking bodies strung up like fucking puppets! Dead bodies strung up like fucking puppets! Dude, holy shit!
Ardyn did that. This!
To liven things up, I thought I'd take you on a stroll down memory lane. Of course, memories decay with time.
Is that Ravus?
Or what's left of him?
Ardyn did that. And this? Well, that's just fucking Ardyn. This guy is so fucking, like, he's so villain-worthy, you know? He does some really crazy effed up shit in this game, and I love it so much. Like, it gets to the point, right? Where literally the Empire of Niflheim is wiped out entirely, mainly by Arden's doing, and the rest of the world doesn't even know. Like, the Empire, like, by the time you get to the Empire, it's just gone. You don't even know what the fuck happened. And then you go through it and you start learning about all of the demons and shit that Arden helped them learn about and then released into the, you know, Empire and whatnot, and it's just, it's fucked. It's amazing, though. Like, Arden, he's such a great character. He's such a great villain, and definitely my favorite character in this entire game, too. Like, don't get me wrong, I love our four main protagonists. But Arden takes the cake as far as that goes. And then we've got, of course, our other characters. We've got the main four, Noctis, Gladio, Iggy, and Prompto. Now, the thing that I've got to say as far as they go, their interactions are so amazing. Also, one of my favorite parts about this game. There's, I mean, just throughout the entire game, like, not even just at certain points, just throughout the entire game, they're talking to each other and acting like buddy-buddy. I mean, obviously, because they're, like, best friends. They're bros, you know? And they bro out throughout the whole game. Like, the bromance is immense between those four. It is amazing. Like, they have so many hilarious and fulfilling conversations, and I love it so much. You really get to understand their relationship with each other, who each one is in the group, you know, what their respective personalities are, you know, how they, you know, interact with each of the other characters and not just with Noctis and everything. And I really love their friendship in this game. It is definitely one of the major strong points, which is good because they are the main characters, so naturally them having such great interactions throughout the entire game makes it that much more amazing to play. Now, outside of those four, we've also got Lunafreya, which was honestly the character that I was worried about the most when it came to, you know, whether or not I'd be a good character, because they had Stella from Versus 13 up till, you know, actually, what was it, like last year or something that they announced that they were swapping Stella out for Luna? But yeah, she was a character named Stella Nox Fleuret, but they switched her out and made this new character named Lunafreya Nox Fleuret, which, honestly, I really never saw the point in that, why they needed to change her appearance and name. Why couldn't they just change her point in the story? There wasn't really a point in changing her name and her appearance, but, you know, whatever. Either way, though, but because she went through such development changes, I was concerned that, you know, she was going to be kind of a shitty character. I was wrong. I was very wrong. Luna is also a very great character in this game. My only beef when it comes to her is that you don't see enough of her, you know? You do see a decent bit, and combining shit with, like, Brotherhood and Kingsglaive and whatnot, you get to see more of her, but I wanted to see even more, you know? I wanted her in the story more. I didn't want to just see bits and pieces of her that were all really amazing scenes. I wanted to see her full on throughout the story and really get to understand everything about her and see her interactions with everyone else and whatnot. But we didn't get to see that, unfortunately. All the same, though, what we do get to see of Luna, which is still a decent bit, I love her. She's a very strong character. She's very strong-willed. She's how to put it? I guess, long story short, she's like this stalwart, unwavering wall of, like, hope and faith and determination, and she knows from the beginning what she's going to do. She sets out to do it, and she gets it done no matter what, and I love it so much. She's such a strong character altogether, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed her. Now, for the remainder of the story, like I said, it doesn't get really in-depth until about halfway through the game when you start going to Alticia. But, what I will say is, whereas it is slow-ish for, you know, the sort of middle of the game, you know, like, beginning to middle sort of area, what you're mainly focusing on at that point anyway is exploring the world and having fun with the entire world and learning the characters and shit, so even though the story's a little bit slower then, it gives you a lot of time to understand the world and the characters, and the way they do that makes the story, you know, it doesn't make it essential for the story to be really thick and really involved right then and there. You still get a sense of fulfillment out of playing the game, even without an abundance of the story at that point in the game. And I really like that. I really like that even though they saved most of the story for later on, you're still getting so much out of the game, other than, the main concept of the story, that it really doesn't matter. You're still having so much fun and learning so much about the game and the world and the characters, and it's really amazing that way. Now, before I go on too long, I will say that my final score for the story of Final Fantasy 15 is 9 out of 10. The reason I say 9 and not straight out 10, because I really love the story, is indeed because it takes a while for you to get really in-depth in the story. On top of the fact that I noticed that there's also a lot of things, and this is kind of inevitable when it comes to Square Enix games, but there's a lot of things that you might not necessarily understand fully, because they only explain it once, or explain it fairly vaguely. But once you look into it a little bit more, maybe replay through a couple of parts, or pay more attention to what they're saying, or read some more things in the game and whatnot, you really get to understand the rest of the story, and once you understand it all, it's amazing, and I truly do love it. Okay, so the second part of this is going to be the graphics. Now, when it comes to Square Enix, and when it comes to Final Fantasies, graphics are usually really freaking good. I mean, put it this way, Final Fantasy VII, for instance, was in an era where most games, specifically JRPGs, were still little 2D sprites, and here you had, full-on 3D polygons and shit, and, full CG cutscenes and shit, and, Final Fantasy X, for instance, is another one. Shit, that game still looks like it belongs on the PS3 instead of the PS2, and it's yeah, graphics is never an issue for Square Enix or for Final Fantasy, and 15 is no exception. This game is so beautiful. It's got practically photorealistic characters. The scenery is gorgeous. And as we would expect from a Final Fantasy game, there's all sorts of different environments. There's snowy areas, there's fiery mountain, there's desert, there's forest, there's beaches. There's all sorts of variety when it comes to the environment. And so we get to see everything that we could possibly want to see in this new Final Fantasy style and new graphics and whatnot. You want to see, airships, we get to see airships. You want to see chocobos, we get to see chocobos. You want to see, epic Final Fantasy giant scale battles, we get to see epic Final Fantasy giant scale battles. I mean, there's nothing, visually at least, that they could possibly put in this game to make it a better Final Fantasy, at least for me. I mean, I guess if I really, really, really had to get into it, maybe I would have liked there to be some sort of alternate dimension, or, I mean, even then, towards the end of the game, spoilers, towards the end of the game, it kind of gets overtaken by darkness and pretty much becomes a whole new world at that point, and it's well, I can't expect too much for wanting a separate dimension or a whole new world to go to or something, because that kind of delivers it right there anyway. But yes, all in all, the graphics in this game are fucking beautiful. I mean, the water is amazing. All of the trees, the environments are so lush. It's all so amazing. Hell, the animals, the monsters, the beasts you fight, the soldiers, all of them look fucking amazing. The textures are beautiful. I mean, the battle effects are fucking awesome. All of, the magic, the huge fiery explosions and ice and lightning, it's all so just perfect looking. It's so realistic, so rich, so full of color. I mean, it's so amazing. Definitely one of the best looking games I've ever seen. Not just on the PS4 or Xbox One or whatever, in general, ever. But one of the best looking games I've ever seen. And don't even get me started on the CGI cutscenes, because that's Kingsglaive quality shit right there. And, I mean, if you've seen Kingsglaive, you know how good that shit fucking looks. So, yeah. Final score for the graphics, 10 out of 10. I mean, there's nothing I can say bad about it. The only things I can really try to say is that, there's obvious normal game stuff, occasionally your arm will be inside of another character, or, occasionally, is something will one of the textures will glitch out a little bit. I mean, that's normal game stuff that isn't always fixable. Things like that are going to happen in every game, and I really can't bitch about that. So, yes, definitely one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. Now, on to the final part of this review, which is gameplay. Now, that's one thing that a lot of people were worried about, because Final Fantasy 15 switches up the formula for Final Fantasy battles in the most crazy way we've seen yet. I mean, I think the last game to switch it up so much was, like, maybe Final Fantasy 13, maybe. I'm not going to count 11 and 14 because those are MMOs. Those clearly kind of have to work differently. But, I mean, yeah, 15 switches it from turn-based RPG battles to full-on, constant action-oriented RPG battles. You know, via, like, Devil May Cry, Kingdom Hearts, you know, constant action battles. And honestly, I'm not going to argue with that, because if done right, it still works perfectly fine. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's not a Final Fantasy because it's not turn-based. Well, so fucking what? If it's still really fun, what does it matter? I mean, okay, if they changed it to like a first-person shooter or something, yeah, okay, that would change it too much. But the fact that you're still a party of people swinging swords and magic at shit and monsters, it's still that same core concept. It's just in a different way. It's just not turn-based. That's not a big deal. And honestly, the combat in this game is fucking amazing. Really, really spot on, really accurate, really... I don't know how to put it in the most detailed description that I possibly can, but imagine, like, the really accurate, fast-paced combat of Devil May Cry, if any of you have ever played that. And apply that to Final Fantasy with, like, leveling up and, like, magic spells and fighting monsters and shit. And that's basically what it is. But even then, it kind of adds a little bit more, because you do have, like, party members that you can assign abilities to and whatnot. And you have a button you can click to have them use said abilities whenever you want. Well, you have to fill up a bar to get them to use that, but all the same, it's because they're really powerful skills, so you can't just spam them. That's why you have to fill up a bar. But yeah, the battles are just so fast-paced, so action-packed, and there's so much to do as well. I mean, there's so many different weapons that really change up the gameplay, and that's one of the things I was worried about, because Platinum Demo, I really didn't get a lot out of switching weapons in that, but in the actual game, in Final Fantasy 15, switching weapons and shit actually really plays well into the game, which is awesome, because, like I said, I was really worried about that. And then we've got magic, which I will say, in this game, you have to kind of make your own spells, which is kind of interesting. You gather elements from out on the field, and then you kind of mix them together in the menu to create spells, which is a really cool concept, but I felt was a little bit limited. I'm not going to argue because they came up with that system altogether. I just kind of wish there was more to it, you know? Because you could still only make your basic fire, thunder, and blizzard spells, and you can also make a spell that's sort of like a random which one of those three it is, but still, you can only use fire, blizzard, and thunder, and I kind of would have liked a little bit more, like maybe some, you know, flare, some, you know, I don't know, bio, some ultima, some holy. I mean, I guess holy's technically in there in a way, but kind of half-assed if you ask me. But yeah, I definitely gotta say, I really do love the magic crafting system. It's just, it was good, but because it's good, it made me want more of it, you know? And I can't say it's a bad thing that there wasn't more of it, because it was there in the first place. I didn't expect that. I thought we were just going to have spells. So I do love that it's there in the first place. I just really want more, you know? In general, this is an awesome game, so I want more. Like, I wouldn't argue with the Final Fantasy 15-2 or something, which, I mean, if you've seen the ending of this game, you know probably isn't going to happen. Yeah. I won't spoil why, but it probably doesn't take a whole lot of brain power to figure out exactly why that might be. But, yeah. Now, another thing is the Ascension board, which is kind of like your skill tree, which also offered a lot of ways to, you know, develop your characters. You know, a lot of new combat techniques, a lot of new skills, a lot of new magic bonuses, a lot of new stat boosts, shit like that. And, I don't know, there's just so much in this game, not to mention the goddamn open world. I mean, if we're talking about so much in this game, the open world is immense. Like, I can't possibly say just how big the goddamn world is. I mean, honestly, if you wanted to walk from one end to the other, we're talking hours and hours and hours. It's that fucking big. I'm not exaggerating either. I swear to God I'm not. I mean, take Skyrim. I think they said this game was like something like 15 times the size of Skyrim or some crazy shit like that. I wouldn't doubt it. It actually is really big, and for the most part, it is open world. You can go anywhere. I mean, yeah, there's stronger monsters in certain places, so you kind of probably don't want to go to those places too soon. But all the same, the fact that you can pretty much go anywhere, and the fact that there is so much in there, there's all sorts of side dungeons that aren't essential to the story, all sorts of collectibles, all sorts of side quests, all sorts of new characters to meet and see, all sorts of lore to get yourself involved in. It is easily a game that can absorb hundreds of hours of your life. Hands down. Like, no competition whatsoever. This is like Witcher 3 level shit right here, and I love every second of it. Now, before I start ranting for too goddamn long, I'm going to give it a score, and honestly, gameplay gets a 10 out of 10. Because again, this game has so much to offer. The combat is accurate and fast-paced and action-oriented, and I never felt any downtime. Like, I never felt bored with the combat, like, ever. Even just fighting casual bullshit enemies that are usually kind of droning on and on when it comes to usual JRPGs, I was still into it, just beating the shit out of them and having fun with it. And then the magic crafting system made me want more. The Ascension board had so much you can get, and that world was so big and had so much in it. So just, oh my god, loved it. Okay, so that is my review of Final Fantasy XV. Final score for the game is 29 out of 30. Obviously, I love the shit out of this game. It is damn near perfect in my opinion. I would have tweaked a couple of things here and there, and there's plenty of shit that obviously I would love to have added into the game, like, for instance, making Aranea a main character, like, permanently. I didn't mention her in the story section because I didn't want to mention every character in this game because there's too many. But yeah, I will just say this game definitely lives up to being a Final Fantasy game and is a proud member of the series that we love to call Final Fantasy. Loved it. I hope everybody else that plays this loves it, and clearly a lot of people have because it's been getting great reviews critically as well as through fans and whatnot. So, have you guys played this game? If not, are you going to now, or does this still not quite persuade you, to actually go and try it? Let me know in the comments section down below. Definitely leave a like on this video, and of course subscribe for future videos, because I'll be uploading multiple every week as usual now that I'm not playing Final Fantasy XV. So, that'd be about it. So until next time, stay pretty, my buddies.